Alrighty guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to do better on Google Maps and rank higher in the 3-pack. There's very specific things that we can do that a lot of people don't realize. There's also some sneaky tactics that I'm going to get into a little bit, but still everything that we're going to go through is following the rules with Google while still enabling you to get in the 3-pack in your local area. One thing to note before we get into it is with the Google Business Profile, the local map pack, you are limited based on your address. So where your address is a big factor. Pretty much you can do well and optimize to show up in about a 10-mile radius. If there's towns or areas outside that 10-mile radius that just aren't competitive, meaning there aren't many or any other companies in your industry with Google Business Profiles, then you can oftentimes go beyond that 10-mile radius a little bit. But as a whole, usually, we work with a lot of roofing contractors. You're not going to really show up too much outside of that 10-mile radius, at least in roofing most of the time, because a lot of times there's roofing contractors in, across everywhere for the most part. And usually roofing is a little bit more competitive than some other industries, such as like pressure washing or something like that. So let's get right into it. I'm going to show you guys what I think it's the top 9 ranking factors are for the Google Business Profile. Okay, so I actually made a sheet that makes this a lot easier to explain. You guys can see this all in one place. Pretty much this sheet outlines the top 9. You can see 1 through 9, the top 9 local SEO ranking factors. And when I say local SEO, I'm specifically referring to this map pack right here. So I'm sure you guys are very familiar with this. When you would Google roofer near me, you're going to see the map and these three listings that pop up. What I can tell you is if you are able to get in the top 3, you're going to get a lot of phone calls. You're going to get a lot more leads coming in. So it's extremely valuable to be in the top 3. I believe 30 or 40% of all local searchers actually go to the maps and click something in the maps. So that's really valuable. I think there's another, it might be roughly 5% of people will click on the see more option, meaning you have the top 3 companies. That's what most people are clicking. Then there's a little option to click see more, and it'll show you all of the businesses in that area in the maps. And a lot of times for roofing specifically, people are clicking in the top 3. So it's very important to be there. I know sometimes personally I will click on the drop down to see more things in the maps, mainly when I'm looking for a restaurant, because sometimes the top 3 just aren't even the type of restaurant that I want. Whereas when you're searching for a roofing company or some type of home service company, oftentimes all you're looking for is good reviews. I want to make sure the company's not too big but also not too small and has 4.5 to 5-star reviews. Those are the things I look for. So that, again, just emphasizing the importance of being in the top 3. And what we're going to talk about in this video is ultimately what it takes and what the things are that you can do to be in the top 3. Now, Google reports that there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of factors that go into ranking at the top of Google. But I've tried to narrow this down to the things that we've seen after working with dozens of clients, the things that we've seen that actually, are worth spending time on and have the biggest impact by far. So the number 1 thing is really obvious, and you probably already have it right, but that's your primary category. So if you're in Google, if you're in your Google Business Profile, I'll even pull it up. I can probably show an example here. Let me try this. If you're in your Google Business Profile, as you can see here, I can see my profile because I'm logged into the Google account that I made the profile with. I have owner access to this profile. So what we can do is if I click on Edit Profile, one of the big things you're going to see here is category. So if you're a roofing contractor, make sure it's roofing contractor. If you're an HVAC company, make sure it's HVAC. One thing really interesting with HVAC, and you might want to, I'm not going to go into a ton of examples of this, but it might apply to your industry as well. HVAC contractors during the summer months, during the warm months, oftentimes it can make sense for them to switch their category to AC repair, and then during the colder months, switching their category to heating repair. Because when it gets colder, that's when the heating systems are coming back on. That's when issues can come up, and people are, searching for a company that can repair their heating system. So something to think about. But the categories have the biggest factor. They almost act as keywords in a way, meaning, by choosing the category, when somebody searches that thing, Google's first going to look at the category to make sure they're showing the right thing. So just make sure that's right. And then we'll get into there's secondary categories as well. We'll get into that later. All right, the next thing, and this is one that's a little bit sneaky, and it's technically not following Google's rules if you do it. They're not very strict with it, but there's always a chance they could get more strict with it, and that is the keyword in your business name. So again, it's risky, but it's proven to work really well. So an example of this would be if you're a roofing contractor and let's say you want to get more jobs in, let's say you're a roofing contractor with a Lancaster address, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, or any city really, but let's use Lancaster for example. You could put in there roofing contractor Lancaster Lancaster or Lancaster roofing contractor or whatever it might be. That really does, it does help, but you need to do this with caution and understand that Google could end up removing it. Usually what they'll do if they get picky about it is they will just change it back to what it is. Their technical rule is that your name on your business profile needs to be the same as like what your legal name is. So if you really wanted to get crazy with it, and if this was a really big priority to you and you knew this was like one of your best opportunities to generate more leads, you could change your legal business name, but that means you have to change everything. Your logo, like you have to change it everywhere across the board. And I think usually that's not the best option because there's a lot of other factors. That just happens to be a big factor. The other downside, if you like change your whole business around this, is like Google could eventually change this and it isn't even a ranking factor anymore, or they get really picky with it. So probably not worth it for most companies. I just wanted to include it because if you add it, you have an insanely good chance of being in the top 3 for whatever area you want to show up in. So the next thing is your location. So I mentioned this at the beginning, but really you have, I'd say probably 7 to 12 mile radius around your address. So just, pull up a map on Google and just kind of look what that mile radius is that you have, and that's where you're going to be limited for the most part. So one very, very interesting thing that you can do is you can get office space. So if usually you want to be in like populated areas because that's where most of the potential clients are, just because densely populated areas, more people. That's pretty straightforward. But you can rent office space. So you could actually legitimately, if it's in your budget, you could go rent the office space and put a sign out there and do all of that. Another option is you can actually get a like a WeWork, like shared office space. That can work as well. You don't want to do a PO box. You don't want to do anything like that. That's not going to work. So it has to be a legitimate office space. And Google says you're supposed to have like employees in that office space during working hours, but I'm pretty confident Google's not checking on that. So, proceed with caution in anything you do that's a little bit sneaky. But we have clients that we've actually, consulted with and kind of recommended that they implement these strategies, and their lead flow, skyrocketed like crazy because now they have multiple areas where they're able to get in the top 3, 4, and that just brings in more leads. Now, one thing to consider is if you're going to do this and choose office space, you want to choose like the city center. Like Google tends to give so first of all, you want to be in the borders of the city that you're trying to rank in. And I'll show you a little bit more what I mean by this. But within those borders, they tend to give preference to the companies that are located closer to the center of those borders, which is the center is just how they define the center. Usually it's just the busy area with all the people. Imagine the downtown of whatever city or town we're talking about. And I'll show you a quick example here. If we search, I'm just going to go to Google Maps. Search Lancaster. So right here, you can see these red lines are what they actually consider the borders of the city. This might not be based on reality or anything with the jurisdiction or whatever the word is, but this is what Google views it as. So that's really what's important. And if you want to find the center, actually where they put the word, like where they put the name of the city or the town, is what they consider the center. So the closer you can get to, where is it? There we go. The closer you can get to that area, the better you're gonna do essentially with showing up in Google Maps. So that's a bit of a sneaky way to do it. I think the rest of the things we're gonna talk about are actual things you can implement. So actual things you can implement without making any drastic changes. I will say renting office space, like a WeWork office space, not necessarily anything drastic. Like really, I think you can get one for anywhere from, I believe the national averages are $50 to $400 a month. So it could easily be worth it. If you're a roofing contractor, you're going to pay that back with one job. So it's something to think about. But the next thing is additional Google Business Profile categories. So if you go into your Google Business Profile and you go back to this Edit Profile, what you can see in here is that you're actually going to have options. You have your primary category, and then you also have, for some reason my edit wasn't approved. We're not really a consultant, but I tried. And that's okay. If you get denied stuff that you try to, populate in Google, it's not a big deal. Additional categories, any service that you offer it's not necessarily your primary business, but other services or even other things that are just similar. So Google has tons and tons of categories. So I would just go through all of these categories. You can type them in. Add in anything that's relevant. That seems to be a pretty good factor because, again, if you have the primary category is the biggest thing, but if you have your secondary categories, or they call it additional categories, you will find that Google almost views those categories as keywords. So that's very, very valuable because they're predefined categories by Google that they view as keywords. So when people search, they're going to give you preference over the people who don't have those categories. All right, the next thing that is important is having a complete listing. So if you're in your Google Business Profile, you want to make sure that your profile strength is full. And what I recommend is go to Edit Profile and go through every single thing. Make sure everything is here. For your description, it can't hurt, just try to be very clear about what you do and where you do it. The description it's pretty known that the description doesn't have a it doesn't have a lot of influence necessarily over how well you're going to rank, but it is important to just be crystal clear about what you do and where you do it, because I think it can help with conversions, if anything. Once people see your listing, if the description's good, they're more likely to click on your business and reach out to you. Add your opening date, your phone number, website. This is a big one. We'll get more into the website stuff as well. Social profiles. Add any social profile that you have. You're just you're signaling to Google that you're connected more places on the internet. So Google likes keywords, they like high quality content, and they like to see that you're connected with other businesses or other websites and platforms out there on the internet. And by doing this, you just show them that. You make it very easy for Google. You connect the dots for them. Your location, add your address in here. Last time I looked, nobody really knows if adding your address helps with ranking or not. What I will tell you is in the competitive service industries, adding the address seems to be helpful because a lot of the top 3 businesses in a lot of local markets have their address listed. And there's other companies that are trying to compete that aren't in the top 3. So that's all I can really say to that. So if you're comfortable, even if it's your home address, if you're comfortable, I would just add it and list it and show it. But what I tell you is even if you don't list it publicly, Google's still basing your 10-mile radius that you have. They're basing that on whatever address you had to put in to verify your business in the first place. So I don't know if it's massive, but maybe the best advice I can give is just base it on who the top 3 competitors are in your area and how they have it structured. That's actually a good rule of thumb for anything SEO related, is like look at your competitors, see how they're doing it, especially like not just any competitor, the competitors that are killing it and crushing it on Google. Look at what they do, implement those things, and then see how you can actually go above and beyond. Service area, hours, include all of this. Service area, I know a lot of people think that this is going to have a big impact on where they rank because you're like, oh, but I tell Google that I serve this area. It's not going to impact it. But what I will say is usually a good rule of thumb is list the counties that you serve. It's an easy way to just address your total address. It's an easy way to include your total addressable market without having to list out like specific cities. So I'd just say all your counties. If you service multiple counties, list counties. If you don't service multiple counties, then go ahead and list like all the cities within it. For roofing contractors, because the value of each job is so big, usually they're willing to travel pretty far. So in that scenario, they usually serve 2 to 4 counties minimum, and we'll just list them out. Make sure the hours are there. Anything else if you want to add like any of these things, these aren't going to help with ranking. At least they shouldn't. But Google will display these on your profile, which can maybe make you more appealing to certain individuals if that's what you're going for. Yeah, just those extra things, kind of like diversity and inclusion things that really shouldn't be super important. So just make sure this is fully completed and as accurate as you possibly can do it. All right, let's see what else. Let me see if I have... Yeah, let me actually cover another pieces because having a complete listing is one of the biggest things you're in control of. So this would go to photos. And I'm not a good example because like we don't get a lot of our leads from our Google Business Profile. Like Google Business Profile stuff is usually much more valuable for local businesses. But anyways, with photos, add a lot of photos. Add photos of your team, add photos of jobs that you're doing, add photos of your vehicles, your office space. Just add a lot of photos. It can be really nice if you add photos of projects in the area specifically that you're trying to rank in. That can be really helpful, not for ranking, but for people when they're scrolling. If they see stuff that looks familiar, they're going to be inclined to click. Products. So I know a lot of people feel weird about this, especially service businesses, because you're not selling products, but your service is your product. So it's really important to include products in here. So if you're a roofing company, roof replacement, roof repair, commercial roofing, metal roofing, windows, gutters, doors, whatever it might be, include each one. And then it's always a good rule of thumb to have a corresponding page on your website, an entire page dedicated to that service that offers valuable content. Nobody fully knows how big of an impact some of this stuff has, but I'm a strong believer that by having this on your Google Business Profile and then linking it to a page with valuable content about that service is going to be a good indicator to Google. Take a sip of water here. So I think that's always worth doing. Sometimes you don't have sometimes people like to just have a one-page website. That's never going to benefit you for anything related to SEO. My rule of thumb is, for a typical service company, you want to have your homepage, about page, contact us page, a page for every single service that's in-depth, thought out, good content. And then I also am a strong believer of service plus location pages where you'll say, hey, we do this service in this area. So we do roofing in Lancaster. We do roofing in York. We do roofing here. And it's literally separate pages for all of them. It sounds overboard, but it really, really works. I can just show you an example. If I search roofer in Allentown, watch what we have here. Look at this. This is the #1 roofing company that pops up. We click on this, and look what their page is. Roofing services in Allentown, PA. This whole page talks about roofing in Allentown, okay? And this is not the homepage. You might think this is the company's homepage of their website. Nope. This is a specific page that they created so that they can rank at the top of Google for when people search roofing in Allentown. This page makes them a lot of money. I can almost guarantee that. I could go into the details and show the traffic, but very, very valuable. So as an example, you have pages like this, interlink them when you can. A better example of this is if we do residential and roofs. Great. So here's a page about roofing, gives a bunch of valuable information. If you were to create a product that said roof installation, you'd want to link that to this page of your website. All right, so let's see. Is there anything else with the profile that's valuable? Oh, okay. Another thing you can try to get like friends and family to ask questions. We have a process for this where we kind of set up like fake accounts, but that's a little bit sneaky. But that can be helpful to have questions to show engagement on the profile. Those are the big things. Okay. The next one is Google reviews. Set up a really good review system. Whenever you do a job for someone that you know is going to be happy, ask them for a review and make it as easy as possible for them. So if you come here to your profile and click ask for reviews, you can actually copy this link, and now anybody you send this link to is going to be taken to a spot on Google where it makes it very easy for them to leave you a review. I'll show you right here. Pretend I just clicked this link. Now we're here. It's having me leave a review for RevExperts. So very, very simple for somebody to just come in and do that, and they can add photos and videos. Pro tip, if you ask them to add photos and videos, you can even offer incentives, gift cards, whatever it might be. That can help with rankings as well, to have photos for these reviews. The other thing on reviews is respond to all of them. So another pro tip is when you ask for reviews, if they can mention a keyword in the reviews, like roofing in Lancaster, so service that you did plus city that you did it in, if they can mention that, that can be really helpful as well. And then when you reply to those reviews, give a well thought out reply and try to mention your services and where you did it. That's what Google's looking for. With service businesses, it's like, what did they do or what do they do, and where did they do it? Where do they do it? Those are the big things. Alrighty. Oh, also negative reviews. Respond to negative reviews. Google just wants to see that you respond to everything. Your website, this is where you have a ton of authority. So I already went into this, so I'm not going to spend much time here. Make pages like this. Service plus location, and then give valuable information about it. That's like the #1 thing you can do. It's the #1 thing you can do for SEO as a whole. Not necessarily the #1 thing to rank your business in the map pack, but as a whole, I mean, for example, this company's right here. Like, for the maps, you are limited by like a 10-mile radius. For this, you're not limited at all. It's strictly based on content and keywords. So anybody can do a page like that. All right. Backlinks, that's the next thing. Get other, like citations and backlinks are huge. So citations are getting listed on a bunch of different directories. You can use platforms like Whitespark, even SEMrush is usually what we use, Bright Local. It's where you get listed on all of those online directories with your name, address, and phone number. And by having the same, business name, address, and phone number on a bunch of different directories, and then that info is the same as what you have on your Google business profile and your Google Maps, that has a massive impact on your rankings, because again, you're telling Google that you're listed on a bunch of places on the internet. And not only that, your information all over the internet is consistent. Very, very consistent. It just makes it easy for them to connect the dots. So those are the biggest things you can do. This video went way longer than what I expected. But if you go through and do all of these things, I can almost guarantee you're going to see improvements in your overall ranking with the maps on Google. If you guys need any help with this or have any questions, reach out to me. My name's Landon Wanger. I run Rev Experts, where we do this all day, every day for companies in the home service industry. So everything from website design to Google advertising, where you pay to be at the top of Google, to organic optimization, search engine optimization, where we get your business to show up at the top of Google without paying Google directly. We kind of trick the system and get our way up there. So if you ever need any help, just reach out, revexperts.com.